Oi, Dan-chan. Nanda nihon ni kita? What? Konnichiwa everyone, it's Dan from JaDan.co.uk and thanks for finding my video, I appreciate that. In today's video, I'm answering a question I get asked all time.
Why are you so cool?
No, not that question. This question I get asked all time. I get asked online, I get asked in face-to-face, I get asked by baffled little Japanese kids that are like, what are you doing here, mate? Like, you're not from round here. They speak in a Yorkshire accent, you know, they just do. And that question is, why Japan?
Why Japanese people?
Nah, not like that either. I mean, like, why did I come to Japan? Like, why did I bother to pack up my entire life, bang it all in some suitcases, get on a plane and come to Japan? What point? Why did I do it? And to be honest, it's not an easy question for me to answer, so I'm going to have a bit of a think about it and see what we end up with. Disclaimer, so before we get going, this video is going to be very long and it's going to be very honest, just me talking about my life, and it's maybe not for everyone, I understand that. If you're not interested in this kind of thing, there's an eye up here, click a video, go watch something else, do me a favour. But if you want to know about me and why, this is the video for you, so let's get going. First thing I want to do is rewind a bit back to about 2012, around that time when I was still living in England, and look at what my life was like back then. And I'll be honest with you, it was fucking shit. It was terrible. I just moved back home with my mum because I had a full-on nervous breakdown. I'm not talking like I'm a bit sad, I'm talking like a fucking car crash. It was horrible. I honestly don't remember much about that time, I just remember numb, to be honest with you. Not that song by Linkin Park, I mean like feeling just fucking numb. And all day just in my own head, like, you know, battling, I guess. I mean, like, it weren't good, basically is what I'm saying. And just waste every single day sat in a call centre doing a fucking job that I absolutely hated, picking up phone, talking to absolute fucking wankers about the broadband problems. I can't log into my email. Alright, have you tried putting password in? I can't. What? Why? Well, you've given me a password with lowercase letters and my keyboard's only got uppercase letters. Just fuck off. I mean, to be honest, this call centre was the best call centre I ever worked in, but that don't mean no. That's like being the best computer in your school's IT department. It's still fucking shit. And there's only something you can appreciate about call centres if you've actually done it yourself. And they are the devil, man.
Because
call centres
are the devil.
Dealing with people on phone and like dealing with managers will fuck up your mental health pretty sharpish, my friend. Like, they're the worst places, like modern day workhouses. They're absolutely terrible. If you work in a call centre, you know what I mean. And it's just not the one. I'll be honest with you, only coping mechanism I had at that time was living that 420 life. You know that song?
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, well, I took that song as literal advice. And that was my life. All day, every day, that's what I did. And at that point in my life, that was the only thing that made me feel normal. It balanced me out a bit. And, I mean, all it did was cost me a load of money, cost me a load of time, and made me feel content with wasting away in my room and not actually achieving anything or doing anything, just getting to tomorrow. That's all it did. The cherry on top of that fucking shit Sunday that was my life is that it were pretty lonely and all. All my friends had, you know, moved on as friends do. They get married, they get houses, they get kids, they move and do different jobs, like, they just move on. And I was just sat here, just exactly the same. Not doing out, not achieving out, not doing anything, just feeling like a fucking idiot. And that was my life. I got no prospects, no money, no drive. I just didn't care anymore, you know? It was just seemed like futile. And the more you do that, the more you sit, you go down that rabbit hole of depression. It just gets worse and worse and you go around in circles. I found myself in therapy every week. You know, I was on all sorts of antidepressants. But nothing was changing. Like, they were just getting worse and worse and worse. And I didn't know how I was going to get out of it, to be honest with you. And things eventually come to a head. I don't really want to get into exactly what happened, but it weren't good. And that day, I decided I was going to try and make some changes in my life. So I decided on doing something new. For some reason, I got it in my head. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to move away from England. When I was young, I always thought I'd go to America, but I don't know. At this point, I got it into my head, Japan with a one. So, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my hometown. I love Sheffield. I love my family. But I also knew that I needed to get out I needed to go somewhere new, hit reset, start again. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now. Like, I'm not sugarcoating it. I would not be here if I hadn't done what I did, so. So after I'd made this life-changing decision, I did a bit of research and it seemed like teaching English was way to go. It seemed what most people did. And I figured I'd already done hard work. You know, I can speak English already, so that's got to be like 99% at work. It can't be that hard to be a teacher. I dealt with teachers at school. They didn't seem that smart. So that's what I decided to do. And yeah, I mean, what did I have to lose? Like, may as well have a go, Anna. So I had a bit of a chat with my mum and she was like, Dan, don't be a shit teacher. Nobody wants a shit teacher. You're not wrong, Sue. You're not wrong. So I decided to actually go and put some effort in and learn to be a teacher. I mean, I didn't want to be that guy that just rocks up and be like, English. No, I wanted to be like a decent teacher. I don't like half-arsing something. If I do something, I want to at least be good at it. And especially when I'm trying to help someone else, like, it has a big effect on their life. I want to do the best I can for them. So I did a bit of research. I got on Google and I found out there's about 3 billion different courses and 3 billion different qualifications you can get. And I didn't know nothing about all of them. They were like TEFL and TESL, TFEOL and Saturday Night Live and all these other acronyms that didn't really mean out to me. And they didn't seem to be like one company that were like the Don. It just seemed like anyone could do this shit. They weren't accredited. I don't really know what they meant. Sometimes it were online, sometimes it were in a classroom. And honestly, it meant nothing to me. I was like, well, what am I going to do now? I don't know. So I decided at that point I wanted to do something a bit more official. I wanted to do something that were accredited by like a uni or a college or something that seemed legit to me. So I had a look at University of Sheffield and they were doing something called CELTA. And that stands for like Cambridge English Language Teaching, blah, blah, blah. Some other acronym that don't really mean out. But it seemed like a legit course. It were 4 weeks. It were all in a classroom. None of this online nonsense. I was going to be teaching people from first day. So it seemed like a good thing. And then I had a look at price. Whew. It was steep.
Steep? It's effing vertical!
And it were effing vertical too. It were 1,500, probably a bit more for a 4-week course. And this may come as a shock to you, but wasting your days in a call centre and wasting all your money on a shit Snoop Dogg impression don't leave 1,500 just chilling at bank ready to throw on a course. My mum though, to her credit, she stepped up. Like, she put up with a lot of shit from me at that point, and she was just desperate to help in any way she could, and she took a chance. She gave me money for a course, and I'm so grateful. Like, I can't even really talk about it because it upsets me a lot, but she gave me a chance. Like, she gave me money and she was like, go for it. Next, I went to my job and I told them, you know, I want to go take this course. I want to become an English teacher. I need some time off work. I need to go, it's 4 weeks off. I need to go and do it. And they were like, nah, mate, no way. Oh, safe, cheers. Of course they declined. Why wouldn't they? It's not in their best interest for people to try and better themselves, is it? Like, they want people that are going to be there until they're dead. They don't want people, you know, bettering their life and doing something different. They're not going to help me do that. I did toy with idea and not doing course because of that. But then I remembered, fuck this place. I'm ready to gamble. I'm not bothered anymore. I don't give a fuck. Fire me if you have to. But I'm doing this course. So I went and I registered anyway. And when time come, I just simply called in sick at work. Like, I'm not proud of it, but I definitely played up the nervous breakdown thing. And I'm too sick to come into work. And honestly, like, it's hard because, like, it were a lie, but it weren't a lie. I were mentally too sick to go to work. I couldn't hack it anymore. But what I didn't tell him is that I was taking that time to go and do this course to escape. And I feel guilty about that a lot because mental health is something that's very serious. And it felt like I was using it as an excuse to get out. But it were also true. I don't know. I don't feel proud about it, but that's what I did. I called in sick every day for 4 weeks, and I went to university, and I did this fucking course. The course itself was sick. I proper buzzed on it. Not only did they, like, teach you how to teach English, and, like, actual methodology for teaching and how you do it, they also taught me a lot of English theory, because even though I speak English, at that point I didn't know nothing about English theory. I'm like, what do you mean past participle? I don't know what that means. What's a subject? And all these things they kind of taught you, super basic, and I had to actually teach it to somebody else. And it were absolutely awesome. I got to spend time in a classroom, I got to see real teachers teach, and I learned a lot while I was there. Having said that, it were pretty intensive though. In 4 weeks, I taught 10 lessons, and one of them were on second day in that course. And every day we were doing like 8 or 9 hours learning about theory, about how to teach, how to error correct and all that stuff, as well as preparing lessons. And at night we'd go home and write essays or read essays from other people. And it were pretty constant for 4 weeks. Like, we didn't get weekends, you were planning stuff for next week. So it were hard, and a lot of people didn't make it, like, I'll be honest, like, it were hard, but I was like, well, what else am I doing in my life? I may as well just crack on and do the best I can do, and I can do it. I felt like maybe I can do this. Like, I don't usually feel that way, but that time, after about 3 days, I was like, alright, I think I can do this. It's hard, but I can do it, so let's just, you know, fucking do it. Do it. And lo and behold, I did it. I did alright. I got a pass B, which is like standard pass, pass B, and then pass A's top one. I didn't get that. I was close, but I got pass B. And for the first time in a long time, I actually felt proud of myself. I decided to do something, stuck to it, and did it. And I felt like I hadn't wasted my mother's money. That was the main thing. She'd invested in me, and I wanted to do my best and make sure it worked. And not only that, there were a glimmer of hope in distance. Like, it seemed like, yes, we're taking a step in right direction, and that were important. So now, I were qualified. I were like repping, and I wanted out. Well, at least part of me wanted out. Like, life's funny. Although I hated my life, I was terrified of change. Like, what if I failed? What if I couldn't do it? What happens if I hate it when I do it? Like, so what I ended up doing was just stalling and stalling and stalling. I convinced myself that I needed more time to adjust. I needed more experience. I needed more money. I needed time to save more money. Or, you know, maybe my band's going to make it. I want to stick around and see what happens with that. If you didn't know, I used to be in a punk band, by the way, and yeah. Big up Irrational Act. If you're interested at all, there'll be a link in the description. Check it out. We've got a couple of albums and that. Anyway, this meant I wasted another 2 or 3 years just doing nothing, because even though I was like convincing myself all these things like more experience, more money, I didn't actually do anything. Like, I didn't get more experience. I just stayed in my call center job. I didn't save money because, you know, I explained how my life were, and you're not saving money while you're doing that. And I didn't improve my life at all. And one day, I was sat at my desk Monday morning, grey, miserable, facing another week in a fucking hellhole. And I was like, I've had enough of this. I've had enough. So I got on Google again, and I searched for jobs. I think at that point, I just searched like, teach English in Japan. And so what come up. And I think I applied for about 3 or 4 jobs that day. And even when I were applying, I didn't think this is the time. I think at that point, I was trying to think like, oh, let's see what happens. I'll just dip my toe in water. Try a couple of interviews. I don't expect to get a job. Let's just at least look like we're making a bit of effort and, you know, see what happens. So anyway, I applied for a few jobs, sent my CV off to a few companies, and I didn't really think else about it. I went back on with my job and hated it. Anyway, when I got home, I checked my email and I got a couple of emails back, like offering interviews and stuff. So I was like, huh, I didn't really expect that. That's kind of cool. So, you know, I said, yeah, sure, let's do Skype interviews. Let's go, fam. And why the fuck not? You know, why the fuck not at this point? So I waited and we had interviews a couple of days later. I think I maybe had 1 or 2, maybe 3 interviews that week. But first one I did was Nova. And later that day, they were like, yo, yeah, sure, you got a job. And I just remember reading this email being like, oh, well, I didn't expect that. Even at that point, I weren't sure I was going to take it. Because I didn't, it were all a bit sudden, he says, after waiting 3 years to apply for a job. But, like, I'd been daydreaming about this thing for a long time, and suddenly it were there. It were in palm of my hand. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I just had to convince myself at that point that that's what I wanted. And that weren't that easy, if I'm honest. I remember I went and told my mum. And honestly, she was gutted. Because, like, I think she wanted to help me. But she also didn't want me to leave. So that's like a proper double-edged sword for her. And she understood, though, in her credit. Like, I think the whole thing was harder for her than it were for me in end. But she understood, even though she didn't like it. So, yeah. Yeah, I remember her being absolutely gutted when I told her I got a job. So, what can you do? Anyway, in end, I decided, let's go. Email Nova. Yes, yes, please. Let's go. And then over the next 6 months, you had to process everything. You know, I had to send off documents. I had to get my certificate of eligibility from Japan. I had to go to embassy in London to get my visa, book some flights, you know, all that kind of boring stuff. And just waited maybe 6 or 8 months or something, I think it were, while everything sorted itself out. And then the big day came around. So yeah, April 22nd, 2016. It rolled around and I found myself in my stepdad's taxi with my mum and stepdad driving to Manchester Airport. And that journey, oh my God, it probably worst 2 hours of my whole life. It were horrible. Like, the anxiety I felt were off the scale. I've never felt out like it. And like, I just sat in silence. It was like I was being led to gallows or something. It was just, I were excited, but I was just so scared of what were happening. And you know, my mum was sat in front just crying because she couldn't deal with what were happening. And all the way there, I like, will I go? Can I go? Am I actually going to do this? I don't know. And yeah, I remember we rocked up to airport and I took my cases and I said goodbye to my mum. And I was strong as I could be. And I said bye to my stepdad. And I walked into airport and I just fucking bawled my eyes out, if I'm honest. Like, just ready to go through customs. I just lost it. And yeah, that were emotional, to be honest with you. But I went through customs, and then I got through customs, and I were okay. Step one's down. Still a bit crying. I went through, you know, to boarding gate. I still weren't sure I was getting on a plane, and I got on a plane. And even before we took off, I still weren't sure I was going. But I were on a plane and it looked like I was going. And then next minute we're in air and suddenly, yeah, I'm going to Japan, mate. That's a thing. And I remember landing in Kansai Airport and all that anxiety kind of just fell away. And I were excited, like, fucking hell, I've done it, I'm here. What is this? What's Mario saying? Where's Pikachu at? And I were here and that were a thing. And I felt a little proud. I felt a little relieved. And I were like, I've done it. This is sick. I had this moment where I felt like I've proved everyone wrong. I think, like, I'd been talking about it for years. And I think people are like, yeah, Dan, yeah, you'll go to Japan. Yeah, all right, good job. And I felt like I'd proved people wrong. Like, even myself. I didn't think I was going to go. But I did. And I don't think my family thought I was going to go. But I did. And my friends didn't think I was going to go. But I did. And it was nice feeling that I thought, yes, I've shown you a lot. I can do things in my life. And that were kind of good. And I remember going down and going on the bus, and bus took me to Sanome, and I remember sitting on the street corner in Sanome just looking around like, I'm here. Look at all this crazy shit. This is so good. But first time in my life I felt like there's hope. I've done it. I've got out. It's time. We can do it. And it was good. I just sat waiting for my adventure to start. I'll be honest though, them feelings didn't last that long. I mean, for the rest of the day when I'm busy, I'm getting settled and that were all well and good. But that night, when I found myself alone in my apartment, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, it felt like I'd been run over. Suddenly I had this thought of like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm halfway across the world from everyone I know and everyone I love in a country where I don't understand and I don't really speak language. I'm in an apartment that has nothing. I don't even have a bed. Got no furniture, no TV, no internet, nothing. I can't contact anyone. Like, what have I done? And I cried myself to sleep that night at all. Over the next month or so, I'll be honest, I fucking hated it. I was like, why have I come to Japan? I felt like I couldn't do it. I felt like Japan weren't for me. I felt like I'd made a mistake. I felt like a failure, just like I did in England. So I wanted to give up. I wanted to go home. But the only thing that really kept me going is I didn't want to get people satisfaction. And me going home with my tail between my legs, so they could be like, yeah, we knew you weren't really going. We knew you weren't going for long. And I didn't want to do it. I wanted to show people that I could do this. I didn't want to go back to that life, if I'm honest. I really didn't want to go back to that life. So at that point, I was like, give it 6 months. 6 months is a good effort. And if you really don't like it after 6 months, there's no shame in going home at that point. But you've come a long way. You've get up a lot. It's only fair that you get a go for 6 months. So that's what I thought. And that's what I did. And to be honest, you know the rest of the story. It's been on the channel. So if you've watched my videos, you know what happened after that. So I'm not going to go through it. But...質問答えなかったけどなんで? Oh yeah. So why Japan? The actual question Dampan Man asked at the beginning. Well, to become Pokemon Master. Only joking. That's just what I tell people here when I can't be bothered to answer questions seriously, because that story's a bit long and depressing. So when they're like, Dan-chan, nande Nihon ni kimashita ka? Pokemon Master ni naritai ya. Just like that. But to be honest, real answer is not so clear. There's no, like, one thing that made me come to Japan. Since a young age, I'd always been, like, into video games. Like, I loved arcades when I was a kid. Like, actual coin-operated arcade machines. I loved them. And even through my teenage years and stuff, I absolutely loved arcades. But they all but disappeared in England. But I knew that Japan was still famous for arcades. Still got loads of arcades. And I wanted to go and see them. And me and my brother were a bit obsessed with Street Fighter. As you know, I love Street Fighter. And Japan were known for Street Fighter. So I thought there was something in the back of my head there that were like, Japan seems a cool place. On top of that, around 2012, my brother had pushed me to read Death Note. If you don't know, Death Note's a manga. And I really enjoyed Death Note. I'd never really been into that kind of thing, into comics and stuff. But I enjoyed Death Note. And I read a few others like Full Metal Alchemist and stuff like that. And I weren't like mad into it. But I like, oh, this is a kind of cool thing. Like, there's some cool stuff here. And it was something that I'd never really experienced before. And like, oh, that's from Japan too. So I'm like, oh, that's some other cool thing that I kind of like from Japan. So, I mean, it's not a reason I got on a plane, but it was part of fuel for fire, you know? And you know, being on internet, you see all that kind of cool shit that comes out of Japan. You know, like these weird game shows or like all these cool inventions and, you know, weird stuff that you can find online. And I also saw all these like documentaries and stuff about Japan, like these fucking massive metropolis cities, like billboards everywhere and like these really traditional shrines and stuff. And it just seemed like a really interesting place to go. And totally different from anything I'd ever experienced, so that was cool in its own way. Also, I'm a big fan of punk rock, and there were a lot of Japanese punk bands that I were into, and I thought, well, it'd be cool if I can go and see them live. Like, one of the happiest moments of my life in Japan was seeing High Standard play live, and that were absolutely amazing. So there were lots of bands that I knew about before I'd come to Japan that I wanted to see, and to be honest, I've seen most of them bands now. There's a few that I still haven't seen yet, I'm working on, but for most of the time, I've seen all bands I wanted to see, and some other cool fucking bands that I didn't even know existed, so that were a good reason to come to Japan, I guess. Basically, TLDR, Japan seemed like a place that was interesting, I could go and experience some new things, and get away from my shit show of life back in England, while being familiar enough that I didn't feel completely out of my depth. That's basically what was going on. And honestly, looking back at it, it's best decision I ever made, because it completely changed my life. It completely changed my life, and it gave me a chance to reset and start again, which I needed. Because honestly, if I hadn't have done that, I'm pretty sure I won't be here. So, but you know, changing my life for better, that's a video for another time. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, you lovely people. It was wonderful, weren't it? If you did enjoy it, there's a subscribe button somewhere. Smash that in the face, because that's what it deserves. And there's another video somewhere down it. I don't know, it's somewhere. Click it, watch it, do yourself a favour. We've also got the JaDan fam on Patreon, scrolling across bottom because they're lovely people. But, as always, until next time, Jamata!